Welcome back guys to Hidden Horrors, the dark corner of YouTube where we shine a flickering flashlight on the games the algorithm forgot to mention to you. This is volume 4 and we're diving headfirst into the Halloween season and even Halloween evening tonight. But tread carefully, the monsters are hungrier than ever, and if you're new here, there are 3 other volumes full of overlooked nightmares waiting to drag you down first, so go check them out before or after this one. In short, here we celebrate the strange and the sinister, from twisted pixel nightmares stitched together in basements to hauntingly brilliant passion projects, the whispers from the indie void, the AA spectrum. These are games that don't just want to scare you, they want to stay with you. They're full of creative flair and well worth a showcase. So grab that controller, dim the lights and lock the doors. Because once you press play, there's no backing out, only screams, surprises, and a few new obsessions waiting in the dark that maybe you'll buy or check out the demo for. Let's get started. Now I wanted to start volume 4 with something fun, weird and ridiculously gory, and that is the Lacerator. You step into the shredded shoes of Max, an 80s adult film legend whose latest gig takes a terrifying turn when he and the crew are captured by a sadistic maniac only known as the Lacerator. Such a cool 80s horror movie title there. And it starts out just like any steamy shoot does, but then quickly spirals into a desperate fight for survival. I've never seen a porn horror game, but here we are. Players will explore the killer's twisted lair, you solve puzzles, you manage your scared resources, and using whatever weapons you can and find, from close quarters to melee weapons and ranged options, anything to stay alive. But here's the real hook. If you lose a limb, the gameplay changes with it. You don't die, you're just forced to adapt to every injury, altering how you move, fight and explore. Now I played the demos to this and I absolutely loved it. There's multiple paths, brutal traps and several endings, if you get lacerated that is. And it's a wild mix of survival horror, cool dark humour and 80s grindhouse chaos. It's got that PSX style indie horror vibe, and I've never seen these elements mixed together before, so I thought it was the best one to show off first. Comedy and survival horror, it's kooky and charming. This is really a game about horror, like a man who loves sex, hates being dismembered. It's just so silly to talk about, but it's so cool. And when don't we all feel the same, guys? Like I said, I played the demo. It's about 20 to 30 minutes. There's a few different things to do, see, and even multiple endings. It's quite a driven and unique experience, but luckily the full game is now out too, on PC at least. Maybe consoles one day, but we'll see if they even allow it. But this game has that 80s aesthetic too, which I love personally. It's all about adjusting your actions, the environment, the mistakes you make. I mean, I cut my arm off and my leg at one point. And it's learning to fight limbless and essentially disabled. It's another game from the Dread XP people who have worked on things like Heartworm, and that's a game I covered in a past entry. It's not super deep, metaphorical or hardcore in themes, it's just stupid horror fun with a creative twist. It's well worth a go if you're a fan of low poly horror, and the Lacerator is one of those occasional games that comes out and showcases that creative indie flair. And it's good to see a game without restrictions and just going bizarre. So I'm all for it, more games like this please, and a big thank you to the actual dev for sending over a full code to the game, so maybe a full review or stream in the future. But yeah, we've kicked off things in a weird way, but moving on. Now these lists wouldn't be these lists without having some Resident Evil-like clones in the mix, or your classic survival horror from a bygone era. But look no further than our next entry, Phase 0. This is the best one I've seen in my opinion. It captures those classic vibes and visuals from the PS1 era of Resident Evil and Silent Hill, with the great UI and tank controls to boot, but you can swap that around and go for modern controls. I was just very impressed with this game's demo and aesthetics and the whole marketing behind it. Everything is customizable, like I said, the controls and visuals. It's a real hidden gem, this one. It begins reminiscent of Rick Grimes waking up in the hospital after the zombie outbreak of Walking Dead, but this time your character is called Guy. Confused and unsure what's going on, you're just fighting your way through this hospital to find a way out, and the pre-rendered backgrounds with interactivity really sold this one for me. As well as the character and general model design, it's like very detailed but in like a low polygon way. Not to mention the lovely yet eerie background music in what I assume is the save rooms. A true nod and touch back to my childhood, which I'm sure a lot of you will love. There's a lot of cool advancements in gameplay and mechanical display here, such as pushing objects through the set pieces to solve bigger puzzles, and how those puzzles can also affect your inventory and survival tools. Being shocked by a horde of zombies while trying to blow up an MRI machine to get a crank was not on my bingo card for this game. Just about everything in this demo has to offer impressed me in one way or the other. Even the voice acting is decent and lacks that cheesy terrible vibe, and I won't miss that from the originals. And the demo took me around 30 minutes, but you could easily get through an hour of this if you take your time. But what I find truly quite charming here is the amount of passion, cinematic flair. There's a lot of player agency and love for what inspired the developers behind Phase Zero, while making their own baby quite unique. This is by far my personal favourite on today's showcase, and if no other games pique your interest, I implore you to give this one a go and keep an eye out for its full release. I mean, it even has a Blink 182 reference. I mean, you cannot find fault with that. For our third entry, this is another great example of creativity here. Samurai Unicorn. It's an upcoming action horror experience that merges dismemberment, focused gunplay and precision-driven melee combat. And it's set in a retro-futuristic vision of Australia. It's kind of cyberpunk and it channels that texture and atmosphere of classic 5th and 6th generation tiles, while it reinvents the modern design sensibilities. A lot of the games I cover go into this kind of vibe, and yeah, I just love it. The result is a world that feels nostalgic and new, brutal skill-based challenge wrapped in distinctly cinematic aesthetics. And it's not just a return to old school, another game with reinvention of it, pushing players to master intensity, precision and patience in equal measure. It's got a real cyberpunk horror vibe to it. And at the heart of it is Sydney 3, a vast neon-drenched megacity built upon the ruins of its predecessors. Amidst corporate decay, flickering signs, you follow Chloe, a young detective working for the Sydney 3 police force, which begins as a routine investigation before, you encounter a parasitic gauntlet, sentient alien weapon created for the corporate power that built that city. You become the Samurai Unicorn, an unwilling hero, and her mission is to confront the Dream Eaters, which is such a cool name. Grotesque entities and corrupt flesh, metal. It's so cool, this game. It just looks really good, and thank you to the devs for actually giving me a preview copy of the demo, because there was actually no official way to check this out. I think there's a demo coming soon. The city is deep. It's got a strange digital infection known as the V-Armin plague, And structurally, it unfolds around a mission format with chapters and that kind of thing, and players are encouraged to explore, scavenge, master their environment. It's very much the sci-fi horror, but with a PS1 look. And it remains in active development, but it does lack an official release date at the minute. This was kind of a behind-the-scenes slice of me playing this. But it delivers a promising glimpse of what's to come, entirely funded by generous patrons. It's like one of those individual indie projects. Future updates aim to introduce 6 new weapons, deep upgrade systems. It's more of the action horror, I guess, more of the sci-fi horror vibe, a bit like Dead Space, but not so spooky. It's a throwback and it's a statement to older games, and there's weight and danger to it. There's a demand for these kind of games. This is why I wanted to show it off. It captures that spirit of the lost era and games you think you played back in the day, but you're like, no I didn't. But yeah, it's another nightmare to face. I don't want to share too much about this game before you get to play the demo itself, but it's definitely one to keep an eye out on. And again, thank you for the devs letting me check this one out. Next up, we have a game that I covered on one of the original Hidden Horror videos, Tormented Souls, but this time it's the sequel. And a few years back I did stumble across that and actually covered it on a previous channel as a review. But Tormented Souls has this mix of charm, scares, with a few rough edges, but it makes it a memorable little gem. Now fast forward to now, and guess what? We've got a sequel. What's it going to be about? And the devs were actually kind enough to send me over a review code for this, so I'm going to feature it today, and there's potentially going to be a full review once I get a chance to get round to it. So let's talk about it. This is a follow-up to 2021's indie gem that took a lot of us by surprise. It's one of those love letters to old school horrors, fixed camera angles, creepy puzzles, heavy atmosphere, that female protagonist that we all know and love from horror genres. In this sequel, we're back with Caroline Walker, who's now on a desperate mission to find a cure for her sister Anna and the terrifying visions. You head to Chile, and of course things go downhill fast when you come across like a monastery, almost like a villa. And the devs clearly taken the first game's foundation and built something bigger and more polished here. It's running on Unreal Engine 5 now by the look of it, and the lighting and shadows do a ton of the heavy lifting, and the atmosphere looks phenomenal, from flickering candles in abandoned corridors to that eerie glow of surgical lamps. Though, to be fair, in brighter areas the lighting can sometimes flatten out and lose its creepy punch like the intro, but the overall presentation is miles ahead of the original and it's still remaining that unique flair. But it's not just a visual upgrade, the gameplay's been refined too. Puzzles are more intricate, spreading across multiple rooms and rewarding exploration, while combat feels tighter and the new weapons and smoother controls. It definitely feels like a jump up from the original. There's even a new quick inventory system, which is a small but super welcome addition that helps keep that tension high without having to constantly pause, go in your inventory, grab a different gun or weapon or item. Now the voice acting is also noticeably better this time around. It's less stiff, more believable, which really does help that tone land during key story beats. It was one of the biggest things I didn't like about the original. It kind of just felt stilted, and I'm not saying I'm a voice actor, I imagine it's hard, but it just felt a bit like one of the pillars that let it down. And another thing I loved as well is you can actually record your progress in this game with tapes. Now, originally it was done in the same way, but in the sequel, Caroline actually kind of revisits what's recently happened, like a short diary entry, and it's a recap, and it's such a clever way to remind you of your progress and what you need to do when you come back. It's an immersive way of doing it. But of course, it's not all perfect. Some enemies do feel a bit spongy this time round, and that classic save tape system, while faithful to the genre, might still test the patience of modern players because it's the only way you can save on normal or higher difficulties. On easy there is obviously some autosaves and there's a few technical hiccups there here and there, but mostly the performance, pacing, the story, the overall gameplay of Tormented Souls is, again, higher and better than the original, and it really does nail what the original did with making it special. That eerie tension, the cryptic puzzles, the weird lighting. It definitely feels like those long lost horror games, but it keeps you constantly on edge so far. I mean, I've played a few hours. If you're into Resident Evil, Silent Hill, Alone in the Dark, you know, one of those big granddaddies of horror, this one is absolutely worth your time. It's creepy, confident, and unapologetically old school, and that's exactly what makes it stand out. Now, speaking of horror games that keep you up at night, let's move on to another one that's been giving players chills lately.
Now come snuggle up here. It's making me feel sleepy just watching you.
Fine.
Now today, on Halloween of all nights, we penultimately reach out with Becrowned. This is another hidden gem survival horror that looks understated but has something eerie stirring beneath the surface. I'm not entirely sure what's going on in this game yet. Now, from the moment the low poly aesthetic hits, you're reminded of early Silent Hill and even Alan Wake style tension, distorted corridors, religious undertones, and the creeping sense that there is nothing quite as it seems with this world. It's all very otherworldly. Now, the demo itself I played is drenched in symbolism. Hymn-like flavour text, cryptic messages, mentions of priests and churches, and even an angelic, original-looking Angel TV-based save system that flickers with this unsettling divinity. Remember those celestial forms of angels, kind of with all eyes? Yeah. And it links back to the game's key art, actually. And it's hinting at something far deeper and darker beneath the law. Maybe we're in heaven or hell. Now you play as a broken soul trapped in this nightmare of your own making, desperately trying to save your wife and son. Though they seem to see you as a monster, combat is sluggish and the movement's kind of heavy and janky, but somehow the weight adds to the dread, and every encounter feels like a fight for survival. One mistake, one wrong step and you're done. I mean, I nearly got killed by the first enemy, that says it all. Cinematically though, it shines. This VHS-like effect and the cabin in the woods tones, the oppressive darkness, it all feels handcrafted for late night horror junkies. I'm sure Queso will get round to this game at some point. It's raw, eerie, and confident in its mood. With some tight gameplay, some solid voice acting being added, and some just general fan feedback, I think Becrowned could easily step out of the crowd as a nostalgia-driven horror title and claim its own crown. If this is just a demo, I can't wait to see what the full release has in store, because Becrowned is chasing the ghost of those classic. It feels like it's building a chapel to them. For fans of psychological horror, VHS aesthetics, and stories soaked in guilt and faith, this one is definitely worth keeping on your radar. Last up, we're going to talk about my second favourite entry on today. It's the final entry of this video, but one hell of a banger. Ground Zero. This is the last one up on our Halloween showcase, and we're heading deep into the heart of a chilling apocalypse setting South Korea with Ground Zero. A stylish and spine-tingling survival horror experience from the indie developer Malformation Games. Now don't let the retro aesthetic fool you, this isn't just another Resident Evil imitation, it's a love letter once again to classic horror, reimagined with modern polish, creative flair and unmistakably a sense of passion. Now with this game, it's actually very impressive with how they've done it, especially the voice acting. And you step into the boots of a young female protagonist. Now I'm going to butcher this name, but I think it's Seon. I'm no good at Korean pronunciations, even though I did like Squid Game. But she's an elite Korean agent sent into desolate ruins of Busan. Joined by her Canadian partner Evan, the world has been shattered for 2 months after a mysterious meteor impact, leaving behind twisted remnants of once bustling streets, mutated horrors, all lurking in the dark. The setting alone feels refreshing and unique. I mean, a Korean apocalypse rendered in PS1 and PS2 era visuals, fog-drenched alleyways, broken temples, coastal towns, an amusement park. It's all warped by this weird alien fallout. And every frame oozes atmosphere, pulling you into that world and really immersing you. Like, I think this is the most immersive game on the list. I just played this non-stop for like an hour. Now, gameplay wise, Ground Zero hits that perfect balance between old school survival tension and modern accessibility. You can toggle between those classic tank controls and modern movement, giving veterans and newcomers the best of both worlds. And the combat system is dynamic and satisfying, offering melee counters, dodges, the full rotation aiming. You've even got a cool knife boot. And it feels instantly familiar yet wonderfully fresh. There's also clever genome point system, rewarding players for efficient kills and tactful thinking, scanning those corpses, clearing encounters and cleanly granting those points to trade for upgrades and gear, getting better and better. This strategy and consequences. Now, there was a recent update for this month for the demo, and it serves up a tight, focused 20 to 30 minutes experience, and it's got a haunting story setup, a polished presentation, a good gameplay loop, and it's available in both Korean and English. I mean, the protagonist is bilingual. And visually, I think it's low poly perfection. The developers have nailed this distinctive retro horror look. It's very reminiscent of Dino Crisis and how they do it, even when the protagonist takes like a call on a headset. Now, players have called it out as being a bit over the top. Is a blinding torch glare to it sometimes I don't quite like, but everything else radiates that care and craft of a team that truly understands survival horror. I think there's some hiccups now and again, but over development time they'll get fed back. And there's even console versions apparently going to be made, so it's getting a growing community, it's in development. This is definitely one to keep an eye on for 2026 more than likely. And it's going to release on the horizon. It's smart, stylish, and it's dripping with potential. It's beautiful and brutal, like a lot of other games on this list, and I love showcasing kind of the best of the indie market here. This is one apocalypse you won't want to miss.
Beats walking 125 miles, eh?
Maybe it could help with evacuation. There could be survivors along the way.
Yeah, sure, Saoyan. I believe in miracles.
Do you see those growths there on the beach? Did your government brief you on any potential anomalies?
They haven't told me shit. Take this gun, fly to Korea, don't ask questions, good luck, Godspeed. That's just how Canada rolls. Why? Do you know something I don't?
I'm not sure. There were rumors of strange distress calls shortly after the meteor hit, but interference from the dust cloud made it almost impossible to decipher the transmissions.
So there we have it, guys. Volume 4 of Hidden Horrors. Now, I think it's been like a year, because obviously I took that hiatus because of family loss. But we're back, full swinging on the channel, and I'm going to do these episodes or volumes anytime I can find a good amount of games. So if you've got suggestions, leave them in the comments. If you're a dev or indie developer, anything like that, a publisher, get in touch via the comments, or DM me on Twitter or send me an email. And if you're just a viewer and a gamer and enjoying this, let me know if you're going to play any of these games, if any of them pique your interest. Comment, like, hype, all that good stuff. Subscribe if you haven't already. I mean, horror is one of the 3 pillars of this channel, and there's going to be a big channel update soon going over kind of the future of the channel, so keep an eye out for that one. But thank you for joining me for today's video, and I hope you have a good Halloween.